You'd think that I'd have a bit more done at this point in the month. But no, I essentially have a random dungeon generator that occasionally fails to complete the dungeon, a first-person player controller that really makes me question why I'm not using Unreal over Unity, and some of the jankiest looking AI monsters outside of one of those Oni games. So I guess let's jump right into it. I'm fairly proud of this idea fundamentally, and it's one of the few things that makes my crap game catchy slightly better than a pair of wet socks. The core idea is that you have rooms that act as self-contained building blocks of a level that would be perfectly playable on their own, and that each room has a concept of an entrance and an exit. From that point, you simply pull rooms from a random pool and then add them at the point of their entrance to the point of the exit of the previous room. That's all fairly straightforward if your dungeon goes in a straight pattern all the way from start to end. But when you have rooms with multiple exits that might go left or right from the entrance, or, God forbid, up and down, then you open yourself up to having new rooms colliding with existing ones. I experimented with a bunch of egghead shit to try and track the used positions algorithmically, but ultimately, you limit the dynamic design of levels by trying to predict in code how they're going to intersect with one another. Thus, my ooga booga caveman big strong solution to this was to surround each room with a big dumb hitbox and say, did they collide? Rather than do that with a box cast using the shape of the collider set on the object like a nerd, I used the rigid body on trigger enters, which meant having to build this dungeon one piece at a time in real time at an admittedly lightning fast pace, which turned out to be cool as fuck to look at while it builds. So every time we make a new room, we throw it out there, give it a few milliseconds to see if it collides with an existing room, and pull it back if it doesn't. Just as a warning, this next bit is going to be some above-the-shoulders mustard shit that's going to be about recursion and depth first versus breadth first, so you might want to skip a minute or two if that's not your bag. In terms of the algorithm itself, I start with a specific starting room that has a player spawn inside of it, then for each of the exits of the room, we call the spawn function recursively. For each one of those new rooms, they also have exits in them, and so they get the spawn function called recursively on them. This could continue on forever, but we set a numeric limit on the number of rooms, and once we've hit that number, we culminate the dungeon with the boss room, which currently as a placeholder has this ugly-ass orc. Without getting too deep into the weeds of recursive branching and computer science theory, this depth-first approach ends up spitting out a fairly linear dungeon in terms of there only being one option in each room of where to go. I tried to redesign this with a breadth-first approach, and let me tell you, you actually want a linear dungeon. Backtracking repeatedly from dead-end rooms is the kind of hell that no one will stick around and actually play through. Man, I really need to check out Unreal at some point. Some of the stuff that you get out of the box as an FPS with Unreal has been slightly painful for me with Unity. Then again, part of that was me trying to design this player controller around the use of physics rigid body instead of using Unity's built-in character control. The result at this point is a workable, arcadey feeling player controller that will obviously need some tweaks, but has all kinds of nice sliders and levers for me to tweak as this game matures and playtests. By the way, can we talk about how archaic hitting auto reload is? It's 2021, we could do better than that. Really like the system of automatically reloading an infinite energy weapon from Control, so I implemented something which is pretty much shamelessly that, but can definitely be tweaked to get different feels for different kinds of guns. For now, I just have a little weenie pistol that shoots single hit-scan shots, but I have a pretty good damn system of doing that and making particles shoot up and whatnot. Again, something that I imagine I wouldn't have had to do if I had done this in Unreal. For now, I made one little schmoopsy poopsy kobold and one ooga booga big ooga booga strong orc, and that's pretty much it, character model-wise. Let me do some unsponsored advertising real quick for something you should definitely buy on the Unity Asset Store. I bought this pack of RPG animations when they were on sale for half off, and it has been the most continuously used package I have ever purchased, and it comes with an insane amount of humanoid animations for different types of weaponry and all kinds of different scenarios, and that's what all the animation that you'll be seeing in this game is, unless I'm stupid enough to make some actual non-humanoid characters like dragons in a game called Dragon Thunder Dungeon. So that's the end of my ad read. Let's talk about gore. Every enemy will have a body that just takes damage and fall down dead. Oh, you got me! but every enemy will also have smaller hitboxes on vital points that may or may not do extra damage when hit, and may or may not, but definitely will, cause said body part to explode in a red mist if that body part takes the hit that causes the enemy to die. Shit, that's satisfying. And that's pretty much it for now. I know it doesn't look like much yet, but what you're seeing is essentially all this game is ever going to be. Sure, I'm going to add a lot more rooms, more enemies, more guns, more shit to look at, like random ground clutter. But really, the only thing missing in overall gameplay is actual bosses at the end of each dungeon, upgrades and different crazy guns, and that mystery element that will give this game the feeling of walking through rivers of blood and death and infinity through a public crosswalk that isn't attended by crossing guards, but the guards of hell.